Spot market freight's been on the lower part of the curve, and so it's been on the lower part of normal. So that's why freight rates have gone down. And I'll say the other thing is this, Mark. This is really, really important. We have a lot of capacity inside the spot market that came in when rates were $5 and $6 and $7 in the pandemic. And hey, it's great for truckers. We want that for our truckers, but it's not sustainable. So capacity there's still some capacity exits, but this was super cool. So we track and trend the number that come in and go out of the marketplace. In August, this is where truckers are hopeful, Mark. Owner-operators are hopeful. There were more for-hire truckers coming in the market in August than going out of the market.
Landline now. Welcome back. Time now for our weekly spot market update. And joining me is Brent Hutto of Truckstop. Brent, welcome.
Man, Mark, it is so great just to be sitting in the studio of Landline and OIDA out here in Grain Valley. It's a fantastic place to be. So thanks for having us in this morning.
Well, we're glad you're here. It's glad to see you face to face.
Yes, sir. It's always good. That's what trucking's about, man. It's relationships and face to face.
Absolutely. Let's just jump right into the data here.
Yeah, fantastic.
What sort of numbers are we seeing right now in the spot market, and what kind of conclusions can we draw from those numbers?
Yeah, that's the big question. What's the conclusion? What we're seeing in the spot market right now is that the pressure in the market, so the market demand index, which is the Truckstop index we've been measuring for about 20 years, has been in the 50s. And so it's between 50 and 60 over the last almost 2 years after we came out of the pandemic. So if you look at the market demand index, which we publish every single week, free to truckers, free to the industry, as long as it's in the 50 to 60, it's kind of normal. And what I mean by normal is the marketplace over the last 2 years went from the pandemic high all the way back down to normal. And I get questions, Mark, from Wall Street to single truck owner operators. I mean, is it really normal? Yeah, it's normal. Normal amount of freight in the marketplace. So we've been kind of bumping up and down a little bit around normal, but it's been normal for almost 2 years. And so, and the reason, and what I mean by normal is that it's you've got enough freight in the marketplace that's reflected over a normal period of time. And so the conclusion that you can draw from this is that yes, because of inflation and because of fuel and some other things that's been difficult in the market, but the conclusion you can draw is that the marketplace is still healthy. All right, the rates may not be healthy because of the challenges out there with fuel, and although fuel's come back down, I know it's the lowest it's been since the beginning of the Russia invading Ukraine, which made the fuel spike. It's around 40. I think it's around 41 cents or 42 cents, the fuel surcharge index. But rates in general have been bumping up and down. But when you look at dry van, you look at flatbed, you look at refrigerated, they're just kind of in a normal range. The conclusion you can draw, you can look at this. I look at rates every single day. The actual rate right now in 2024 for the last 10 weeks has been above the rates in 2023, which was a normal market. That, Mark, is a great sign for owner-operators that strength is beginning to build back into pricing, which is how they all get paid. So strength has been building back in. That's a great sign. Keep watching that number. Is it improved year over year? Not back when it was in the pandemic, but year over year. So 10 straight weeks of improvements over last year, which shows strength back in the market. And boy, do owner-operators need it.
What are some of the factors that are driving that right now?
Well, the factors that are driving it is that we're beginning to move into the holiday season. So you get a peak inside of the spot market and the trucking market in general about July 4th, and then it kind of comes down to the summer sort of vacation time, and a lot of people take off, even some truckers take off. It kind of goes down because freight recesses a little bit, so the rates come down. It's beginning to approach holiday season, and I'll tell you right now, shippers don't want their goods to not get to market like they experienced during the pandemic, so rates will start to move back up because they need to. They've just been at the bottom of the curve, not the bottom of like a historical, but the bottom of the curve. They've been there for a long time, so it's a natural progression for it to start to come back up.
Let's look a little bit at some of the other stuff going on in the market, and one of them, and I think you've referred to that, load posting volumes, which has a big effect on a lot of what we're talking about.
Yeah, it does. It's everything. Yeah. So load posting volumes. So what I do is I track and trend it over a 5-year period, and I take out big markets. Like I take out 2018, I take out 2021, 22 during the pandemic, because those are abnormal markets that are typically driven by regulation. So if you want to know when the big market's coming back, look at what the FMCSA is doing for regulations, because that will change the ability for capacity to be able to move the goods in the market. But freight has to be at a good stable rate. But I'll tell you this is another thing we track and trend. We look at all the full truckload freight in the United States, and since the middle of the pandemic, the actual available freight, which is what all the rates are based on, has been above the actual trend of the normal in the marketplace. And this is all freight, not just spot market freight. Spot market freight's been on the lower part of the curve, and so it's been on the lower part of normal. So that's why freight rates have gone down. And I'll say the other thing is this, Mark. This is really, really important. We have a lot of capacity inside the spot market that came in when rates were $5 and $6 and $7 in the pandemic. And hey, it's great for truckers. We want that for our truckers, but it's not sustainable. So capacity still, there's still some capacity exits, but this was super cool. So we track and trend the number that come in and go out of the marketplace. In August, and this is where truckers are hopeful, Mark, owner-operators are hopeful. There were more for-hire truckers coming in the market in August than going out of the market. First time in the last 9 months, because there were big exits in the market. So that shows you the trend that trucking is still healthy. It's still a good place to be.
That's interesting because, of course, we still hear a lot from truckers about how low the rates are.
Yeah, and that's a challenge.
If we're getting more capacity in terms of freight hauling capacity, more truckers entering the market, isn't that something that might hold those rates down a little bit?
Well, yes and no. It will in certain areas. Okay, if you're like the cool thing about load boards is you can look at any lane in any market and go not look at the rate. Here's what I want every trucker to look at, Mark, and this is super cool and super important to the profitability. Look at how many trucks are looking at freight in that market that you're in, and look at how many trucks are available looking at freight in the market you're going to. In other words, if you're going from Atlanta to Dallas, if there's 50 trucks to every load, you're going to be in high competition. The rates are going to be low. If there's 5 to every load, then you got a chance to negotiate a much better rate. By the way, here's the other thing. The posted rates that I talk about every week are nothing more than an industry index average. Okay, so that's not the negotiated final rate. If you're not negotiating for a better amount, then number one, do your homework on the lane. Always do your homework. Do your homework. That's what your mom and dad always told us, right? Do your homework. And if you do that, I guarantee you'll be able to negotiate 10, 20%, potentially more in a lane, because you'll look at how many trucks are there picking up freight, how many trucks at the market you're going to, and then you'll just be able to get better profitable freight. And that's the key, right? Better profitability consistently over time, which means you get to enjoy trucking a whole lot more.
Well, and one of the keys there, you mentioned the negotiation, and of course that's something very difficult for a lot of folks.
It is. 80% owner-operators hate it. This is why we give them all the information on Truckstop, because we want them to be armed with the information the broker has.
Yeah, but of course you've got to be willing to walk away if they're not willing to meet what you need. Absolutely. So move quickly, because freight moves quickly in the spot market. Have 2 or 3 loads you're working on all times. If you've got a spouse that might be helping you, be negotiating quickly all the time. That's the key to getting the profitable freight, is moving quickly, because time's money for brokers. If you're dealing with a broker, if you're dealing with a shipper, they measure everything by time. So if they can get that load moved in 2 minutes instead of 15 minutes, they're much more likely to give you a better rate for your operation. There's a figure you also look at, I know, the outbound tender reject index.
I do.
Can you explain to folks what that is and what it tells us?
Yeah. No, thank you for bringing that up. So during the pandemic, I started recognizing what drives freight into the spot market. All right, so Sonar, put out by FreightWaves, it's a database that they put out. They have this measurement called the outbound tender reject. In other words, what's the contract freight? Because, contract freight's nothing more than a simple agreement. It gets what I call renegotiated, but it's called rejected. So the rate that they were going to haul it at is not good enough for that contract carrier, the big carriers you seen going up and down the highways with the normal logos and stuff. It got rejected at the amount they negotiated it for. And the shipper says, well, you know what? I think I can do better. I'm going to push some of that freight out to the spot market, to my broker transportation providers. And so the outbound tender reject index mirrors the spot market. So because it's contract freight that's renegotiated or rejected, pushed back out to another provider in the marketplace, and typically it'll move out to the spot market because it's all full truckload freight. And here's the thing. So when you look at this number, and you can see it on FreightWaves each week, if it's at 5%, between 5 and 10%, then the spot market freight availability is growing. If it's below, it's not growing. It's staying in the contract marketplace, not going in the spot market. So I look at this number every week. Here's the cool thing. In the last 2.5 months, it's been staying right near 5%. 5% is the beginning of the spot market availability freight growing, which when there's more freight than there is trucks, everybody knows rates are going to go up. So watch that number clearly, along with the market demand index that we put out in Truckstop, and you'll be as smart as anybody else on being able to move freight.
Well, Brent, it's all useful information. I know we could go on for some time.
You know me, I love to.
There's so much to talk about.
Yeah, there really is. There really is.
But thank you very much for the information. I know we helped some people out today.
Well, Mark, Landline's fantastic. OID's fantastic. We just absolutely, it's an honor for us to be able to work with you guys and help our fellow, your member and our customer, the owner-operator, thrive in America, because boy, do we need them.
That was Brent Hutto of Truckstop. That's our program for today. I'm Mark Reddick, and this is Landline Now.